And an update on the
news on the new Lowndes County High School principal. Stay with us. VSU Update starts now.
With the apparent fall of Baghdad, U.S. officials say the command and control structure of the Iraqi state seem to be in disarray. CNN's Skip Loescher has the latest from Washington.
It was a study in contrast in Baghdad today, even as Saddam Hussein's regime continued to crumble. With a helping hand from U.S. Marines, Iraqi civilians pulled down a symbol of their oppression, a statue of Saddam Hussein, then dragged the head of the statue through the streets. Earlier, U.S. Marines with heavy armor rolled unchallenged through the capital city, taking up positions near the former secret police headquarters.
To be honest, this was not the exact reception we anticipated.
But at Baghdad University, U.S. Marines come under heavy fire as they try to fight their way through Iraqi resistance. An entirely different picture from another part of Baghdad. Hundreds of Iraqi civilians welcome U.S. Marines and celebrate what they believe is the end of Saddam Hussein's regime. One U.S. commander says most of the Iraqi forces in Baghdad have either given up or gone underground. They are now cautiously optimistic.
The forces that are in Baghdad still have combat work to do. That is not complete at this point. We certainly have seen areas where the population knows that the regime is gone and will never return again in the way that it has been in the past.
Still no word on whether Saddam Hussein or his two sons were in a building leveled by U.S. bunker buster bombs on Monday afternoon.
We do not have hard battle damage assessment on exactly what individual or individuals were on site.
A spokesman says the president is pleased with what happened today, but he warns there are great dangers still ahead. In Washington, I'm Skip Loescher.
This morning at 10:48 Eastern Time, a scene reminiscent of the fall of the Berlin Wall took place as U.S. Marines helped Iraqis pull down Saddam Hussein's towering statue at Baghdad's center. Iraqis tied a rope around the neck of the statue and took turns pounding away at the base with a sledgehammer. The Marines covered the statue's head with an American flag before replacing it with an Iraqi flag. An American M88 tank then moved in a few minutes later and pulled the statue to the ground, allowing Iraqis to jump and stomp on it before dragging its head through the streets.
Although victory seems obtainable in Baghdad, U.S. troops are still fighting in northern Iraq. CNN's Brett Sadler has more.
Well, there have been dramatic developments in this southeastern sector of the northern front. Today, I have seen the first real joint operation between U.S. Special Forces and Iraqi Kurd Peshmerga fighters on the ground, combining in a joint operation. U.S. Special Forces using a 60mm mortar firing position to open up and advance an assault against a village on one of many small roads leading to Baghdad. This is still 90 miles or so away from the Iraqi capital, but certainly judging by the scenes we saw here of Iraqi Kurds rushing forward, firing their machine guns as they ran along a road to a village that had just a few moments before been occupied by the Iraqi military, moving forward, emboldened by what they're hearing about the collapse of Saddam Hussein's power in Baghdad. Now, this is not a collapse of the whole of the northern front, but it is another significant gain of territory. It's what we've been seeing the past few weeks, but we are also seeing closer air support, heavier air support by U.S. warplanes, and closer coordination between special forces and the Kurds. Now, the hope is, of course, that eventually there will be a ripple effect as a result of Saddam Hussein's iron grip over the country melting away in the heat of battle, and that there will be a ripple effect, that the commanders of Iraqi forces in the north will eventually understand that the game is up, that there is no more any command and control from the central authorities in Baghdad, and that these forces still in place in the north will eventually pull back to the cities and then melt away, perhaps in much the same way as we think we are seeing in Baghdad right now. So significant gains on this part of the northern front, but as yet no sign that the major oil cities of Kirkuk and Mosul are about to fall anytime soon. But this pressure, this continuing pressure from the air and by Peshmerga Kurdish forces on the ground, certainly having a dynamic impact on the resolve and fighting abilities of the Iraqi armed forces in the northern part of the country. Brent Sadler, CNN, near Kala in northern Iraq.
Coalition rescue teams continue to search this morning for the 2 airmen of the missing F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jet. U.S. Central Command says that it is unclear whether the plane was shot down. The names of the men were not released for security reasons, but it is said that they were deployed from the 4th Fighter Wing at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina.
A U.S. warplane accidentally dropped a 1,000-pound laser-guided bomb on a house in Afghanistan. The bomb took the lives of 11 Afghan civilians. The military called the deaths a tragic incident. The accident occurred as part of the effort to wipe out terrorism. 4 Afghan fighters were injured in the altercation. They were then taken to a nearby U.S. base where they are listed in stable condition. Afghan authorities had no immediate reaction.
Coalition leaders have made it clear they wish to develop a democracy in Iraq when the fighting ends. Historically, these efforts have brought great success and dismal failures. CNN's Jeff Greenfield takes a look.
Resisting Japanese are blasted from their cave.
We know that democracy is not necessarily limited by region or culture. After World War II, Japan became a free, stable nation within a few years, and so did Germany after the Nazi regime was crushed. Russia has made major steps toward democracy after centuries of czars and commissars. India is now the biggest democracy in the world. And South Korea went from strongman rule to a free society, a point underscored by top Defense Department official Paul Wolfowitz.
The Koreans have demonstrated they can do what many people have done in the latter part of the 20th century. It's time for the Arabs to do it now.
But the news from other regions is gloomier. In many nations, free elections have put leaders in power, Yugoslavia's Milosevic, for example, who have crushed opponents, leading to the phrase, one man, one vote, one time. Without institutions like an independent judiciary and limits on government power, democracy may not lead to liberty at all. And consider this. In some Middle Eastern nations, Egypt and Saudi Arabia to name just 2, genuinely free elections might very well put the most radical, most militant Islamists into power, making goals such as a Middle East peace all but impossible. In this case, democracy may be at war with stability. And unlike Germany or Japan, Iraq's population includes 3 distinct, often warring groups: the Sunnis, the Shiites, the Kurds. These long-standing battles raise this question: can you have a democracy in a nation where the principal ethnic and cultural groups regard each other as mortal enemies? We already seen something of this dilemma in Afghanistan, where outside of the capital city of Kabul, real power lies not in the hands of a central government at all, but with warlords whose blood feuds have a history stretching back for centuries. Jeff Greenfield, CNN, New York.
Coming up, we'll have an update on the plans for the Valdosta VSU Stadium.
Plus news on the new Lowndes County High Principal. Stay with us.
You know, people say to me, you've had 2 hips replaced. Why don't you slow down? I had the hips replaced so I could speed up. Best thing I ever did. My advice, don't throw the whole car away just because you need new tires.
For more information on getting your bones and joints back in the game, call the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons or visit AAOS.org.
Every day on the set, we get to portray heroes.
But the men and women of the Naval Reserve are real-life neighbors, our friends.
They're out there every day, making a difference.
Sometimes even putting themselves in harm's way to keep our nation safe.
Making a difference. That's what real heroes do.
Find out how you can make a difference by joining the Naval Reserve.
Call 1-800-USA-USNR.
The United States Naval Reserve. Stay strong.
Take it from the top, boys. 1, 2, 3, go.
There is a better way to have fun with history.
Come on, Louie. Focus, man.
Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
In health news, the mysterious SARS virus has shown a steady rise in Hong Kong. Some experts fear things may get worse. Hong Kong has been reporting double-digit increases every day with no end in sight. Hospitals are preparing for a worst-case scenario, which could result in 3,000 people being infected by the virus by the end of the month. Citizens of Hong Kong have begun to wear surgical masks as a precautionary measure. Countries in the region are also strictly enforcing quarantine policies on all of those thought to be infected with or carriers of the virus. United States officials will meet today on Capitol Hill to discuss the response capabilities of federal, state, and local governments to the SARS threat.
In education news, Valdosta State University students were honored for their academic excellence this morning. The annual Honors Day ceremony took place in Whitehead Auditorium. Top academic achievers were recognized with departmental and university-wide awards, which included the Annie Powell Hopper Award, the university's highest honor. Classes were dismissed from 11 until 1, so the campus community could attend the event.
Ann Rogers is calling it quits after serving 34 years as Lowndes County High School principal. She will be retiring at the end of the school year. School Board Chairman Bill Fouquet named Wes Taylor as her replacement. Taylor is currently the principal at Lee County High School and will start the new position July 1st.
Valdosta State President Ronald Zachary informed the Valdosta City School Board that it is not in the best interest of VSU to participate in a joint football stadium. Zachary feels that it will be difficult for the university to raise the $4.5 million needed to build the stadium due to weak economic conditions and the ongoing war. This fiscal year, Valdosta State's budget had been cut from $4.1 million. This situation has made it imperative that the university stay focused on its highest priorities outlined in the visionary strategic plan.
In coastal news, the Brunswick Bridge finally opened on Monday. After 8 years of construction, a red, white, and blue ribbon was cut and a motorcade of classic cars crossed the bridge. The Sidney Lanier Bridge has been described as one of Georgia's man-made marvels and will link Brunswick to Jekyll Island. The bridge replaces the two-lane drawbridge that was declared a navigational hazard in 1991. City and state officials think the bridge will increase sales revenues in Georgia by nearly $500 million a year and provide 1,100 new jobs by the end of the decade.
Morris Brown College lost a bid to win back its accreditation on Monday. The Southern Association of Colleges and Schools made the decision based on financial instability. As a result, the 122-year-old historically black college could be forced to close because of many economic ramifications. Students will no longer be able to qualify for federal financial aid or Georgia's Hope Scholarship. The university's membership in the United Negro College Fund has also been revoked. School President Charles Taylor said that Morris Brown was weathered tough times before and will do so again. Taylor has promised to keep the school open while the long and challenging process for reapplication for accreditation begins.
Now let's take a look at PJ Brown. What you got for us, PJ?
Well, two powerhouses in women's college basketball meet last night to decide the national championship, and the Lady Blazers have an Elvis sighting. That and more coming up in sports, but first, let's take a look at weather.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
They came searching for treasure. They didn't know the greatest riches were the rainforests themselves. Worth much more than gold, rainforests help protect life on our planet. That's why people are working to save them. You can learn more through the Arbor Day Foundation's Rainforest Rescue Program. You can go to the Arbor Day Foundation website, arborday.org, and check out Rainforest Rescue. It helps protect rainforests more precious than gold.
These kids are in trouble. They're not getting high on drugs or stealing. If they were, you'd do something about it right now. But why is it almost half of all parents who suspect their child has a problem learning wait a year or more before getting help? Why? Kids with learning disabilities are smart. They just learn differently. Call now. The sooner you get help, the better the chance your kid has.
Hi, I'm PJ Brown, and this is Sports Update. When you think of spring break, you think Panama City, Cancun, the Bahamas, and Huntsville, Alabama, right? Well, that is where the Blazer baseball team had the pleasure of spending their last weekend of spring vacation. Tommy Thomas and the boys must have gotten a little too much sun earlier in the week because VSU dropped 2 out of 3 to Huntsville in the GSCE series. With the recent losses, VSU dropped from 9th to 27th in this week's collegiate baseball poll, as well as falling out of first place in the conference. Blazers' conference record now stands at 8-4, and VSU travels to Jacksonville tonight to take on Edward Waters before coming home to the friendly confines to take on arch rival West Georgia this weekend. Coming off a 27-3 record in the month of March, the Lady Blazers softball team headed up to the Graceland to visit the King during their spring break. VSU split 4 games with GSC Western Division foes this past weekend. VSU stepped all over Wachita Baptist and Christian Brothers' blue suede shoes for 2 impressive shutout victories. But after that, the Blazers left the building. VSU was all shook up as they were shut out and no hit against Arkansas Monticello. Lady Blazers then asked Southern Arkansas to don't be cruel as the Mule Riders knocked off VSU in a 10-inning marathon. After the shaky weekend, the Lady Blazers asked the polls to love me tender, and that they did by putting the Blazers in 4th place in the Southeast Regional poll. VSU replied by saying, thank you very much. Lady Blazers will now look to improve on their impressive 35-15 record tomorrow as the Rams of Albany State come to town. Last night at the Georgia Dome, the 2 most storied women's basketball programs met for the 3rd time in the national championship. The Tennessee Lady Vols were looking for their 7th title on a Pat Summit as the UConn Huskies were out to defend their championship from a year ago. UConn trying to defend their title after losing senior starters, but I wish I was in good old Rocky Top. It wouldn't be easy against the Lady Vols, but Diana Taurasi would be too much. Here you see her with the backdoor cut and one. Taurasi had 28 for the Huskies, but then with 7 minutes left to go, UConn up 9. The junior Taurasi going to break down the defense. Little isolation. Here you're going to see her with the Jordan-esque turnaround jumper. Oh, she did it lefty. She's ambidextrous. Tennessee would never get closer than 3 points. And Taurasi says, fellow scholars, read that. What does that say? That's right, UConn, as they defend their championship and repeat as national championships and win 73-68 over Tennessee. In other news around college basketball, the front runner to replace Jim Herrick at Georgia seems to be Western Kentucky's Dennis Felton. Felton is scheduled to meet with Georgia's officials today for the 3rd time this week. Well, after coming off his impressive cursing tirade at reporters, Kansas coach Roy Williams is finally talking about the North Carolina job. Reports say that Williams' decision to stay or leave Kansas will be based on whether Kansas athletic director Al Bohl is ousted. Williams and Bohl have had a rocky relationship over the years, and reportedly Williams will leave if Bohl remains AD next year. Well, the weather outside is frightful has certainly been the theme of Major League Baseball this far, as the nation has been hit with snowstorms and freezing temperatures. The Atlanta Braves could not escape Jack Frost nipping at their nose last night as they took on the Philadelphia Phillies with the temperatures dipping into the low 30s at game time. The last thing Jason Marquis wanted to do was give up a hit to the opposing pitcher, but Randy Wolf hits the laser into left center. Good job by Andrew Jones just to cut it off, but that would score 2 as Mike Lieberthal comes across for the Phillies. Wolf had quite the cheering section last night, as you see the old Wolf Pack doing the Teen Wolf choreography. But then Gary Sheffield says, that the Temptations? Umpire says, no, it's the Jacksons. Bye-bye now. And then manager Bobby Cox says, I'll take the cream of chicken. And the umpire says, what? No soup for you. But in the 6th, Braves down 1. First baseman Julio Franco busts out his cane and rips one down the right field line. That would score Marcus Giles as Franco goes into second with the double. That would tie up the game at 3. But in the 10th, with 2 outs, Philly second baseman Tomas Perez gets the AstroTurf single to go through the middle as the Phillies score Mike Lieberthal, and they go on to win 4-3. Other news around the world of baseball, Barry Zito won his 10th straight game as Oakland edged the Rangers 2-1. Moving across the bay, the San Francisco Giants were exposed to the jaws of defeat for the first time all year as the San Diego Padres pounded Giants pitching for a 9-4 victory. After yesterday's game was canceled due to 4 inches of snow in Chicago, the Cubs and Expos braved the elements for a Tuesday matinee at Wrigley. Cubs Sammy Sosa being honored for hitting his 500th home run last week with a painting of himself. Sosa says, "Thank you, baseball been very, very good to me." But to the game we go as Sosa, with men on first and second with 2 outs in the first, hits into the 6-4-3 double play. But that would move Mark Gruzelanek over to third, which would prove to be huge for the Cubbies, because with Moises Alou up, the wild pitch gets by and Gruzelanek scores on that, giving the Cubs a 1-0 lead. But in the third, Cubbies up 3-0. Starting pitcher Matt Clement, he needs to take a shower. Oh, because he's dirty on that pitch. But then Cubbies still up 3-0 in the fifth. Moises Alou scorches one down the left field line. That would score shortstop Alex Gonzalez and move Sammy Sosa over to third. Somewhere Harry Carey's looking on and saying, "Look at the kid in the sombrero." But then Matt Clement in the sixth would continue his filthy ways. It looked like he was throwing a wiffle ball up there. But finally, Matt Clement would make a mistake in the seventh, and Vladimir Guerrero for the Exos would make him pay for it. He hits the ya-ya into the left center field bleachers. Into the basket it goes. That's Guerrero's first home run of the year. That would cut the lead to 5-1. But to the ninth we go. With 2 outs, Cubbies lead 6-1. Guerrero up again. Crowd on their feet. "Let me hear ya." Here's the pitch. Cubs win! Cubs win as they hold on to win 6-1 over the Expos. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. Well, that little ditty has been whistled 1,000 times this week by Hootie Johnson and the rest of the Masters crew. A rainstorm forced course officials to close the grounds on Monday for the first time in 20 years. The forecast has gray skies parked above Augusta until Friday. The wet conditions will definitely favor the longer hitter this week, such as Tiger, Phil Mickelson, and Ernie Els. Tiger will be aiming for an unprecedented third straight green jacket, as his pairing will tee off at 2:15 tomorrow. Looking to the NBA, on Monday, Jerry Krause decided to resign as general manager of the Chicago Bulls, reportedly due to health problems. The 64-year-old Krause has been the GM since 1985 and was the architect of the 6-time world champion Bulls. Krause's resignation brought up the question on Tuesday of whether Michael Jordan would want to return as general manager to lead the city and the team that he once loved back to greatness. But late Tuesday night, Jordan put to rest the hopes and dreams of all Chicagoans by stating that after he retires, he will return to the Wizards front office. Well, after being named the MVP of the McDonald's All-American game and being named the Gatorade Player of the Year last night, LeBron James is getting ready to sign that fat NBA check that is awaiting him, right? Well, as Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friends. In statements made last night, James said that after watching his close friend Carmelo Anthony win a national championship with Syracuse, that he has not eliminated the possibility of going to college for a year or two. LeBron's final decision will come in the summer. Well, today's play of the day showcases the New York Yankees' Japanese import Hideki Matsui, doing something that no other Yankee has ever done. And watch as Hideki Matsui says, "Fastball, meet Godzilla," as Matsui gives the Yankees a 7-1 lead with the grand slam into the right center field bleachers. And with that grand slam, that gives Matsui something no other Yankee has ever done, a grand slam in his debut at Yankee Stadium. Hideki Matsui's grand slam is today's play of the day. That's all for sports. I'm PJ Brown. Stay tuned for more VSU Update after this.
Valdosta State University, in service to its students.
The professors here at Valdosta State University really give us a lot of hands-on experience.
Professors are easy to understand and they're enthusiastic about teaching.
They really help the students.
They do everything they can to make sure that you get the education you need.
They always bent over backwards to help me out.
Providing a premier educational experience, Valdosta State University is Georgia's regional partner.
She'll take all that money I got saved in my piggy bank.
Don't be upset. You're lucky you've done such a good job of saving that you can pay for it. It's never too early to start saving for some of life's emergencies.
It's never too early to start planning for the future. Watch for your Social Security statement in the mail. Remember, Social Security should only be part, not all, of your retirement income.
You'd never know it on the battlefield. But nearly half of today's military are National Guard and reservists. However, they can't answer our nation's call without their employers' support. If you're an employer, visit esgr.org and find out how to do your part. After all, their response depends on yours.
Chills, a short film by VSU student Jason Usry, is a suspense thriller that takes place in rural South Georgia. Usry teamed up with a fellow mass media students, Brandon J. Smith and Jamison Hayes, to make his dream a reality. Usry says that the film is loosely based on true events and that some of the content is actually based on his own life. Chills premieres April 12th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the Biology Chemistry building.
VSU will recognize its graduating art majors at the Senior Art Exhibit, which will open on April 13th. It will feature artwork from 11 seniors. The exhibit will showcase a variety of painting, ceramics, sculptures, and printmaking. The event is free of charge and will continue through May 5th.
The Valdosta Board of Realtors celebrates its second annual South Georgia Women's Show. This Saturday, the show is structured for women of all ages. The event will feature fashion shows, medical and professional presentations, door prizes, and live entertainment throughout the day. The show will be held at the Valdosta Lounge Conference Center from 9 until 1. Admission is $5.
Comedian Rodney Dangerfield underwent arterial brain surgery Tuesday to improve his body's blood flow. This is in preparation for an upcoming heart valve replacement surgery. The roughly 8-hour operation began Tuesday morning at UCLA Medical Center. Dangerfield, 81, is expected to recover after 10 days of hospitalization. He is now being held in the intensive care unit. His heart valve surgery is planned 3 weeks after his recovery.
Rock musician Tommy Lee testified Tuesday at the start of a civil trial over the drowning of a 4-year-old boy. Daniel Carvin Veras drowned on June 16th of 2001 at the home of Tommy Lee. Lee stated that all of the children at his son's birthday party came with adults who should have been watching them. Lee added that he kept his own eye on his own 2 children at all times. Daniel's parents sent him to the party with a male caretaker. The tragedy occurred after the caretaker decided to leave the party and entrusted Daniel to another family's nanny. The caretaker has disappeared and will not be a witness.
That's all for this edition of VSU Update.
Have a good evening.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of VSU Update. I'm Johnathan Woodward.
And I'm Anthony Goldwire. Coming up, we'll have the latest on the war in Iraq, as well as an update on the SARS outbreak.
And we have some coverage on the South Georgia's Women's Show. VSU Update starts now.
It's been 1 week since coalition forces took control of Baghdad. Government and humanitarian officials agree that the priorities to stabilize Iraq are to establish security, medical, food, and shelter operations. CNN's Jim Clancy reports on what plans are being made for Iraq.
1 week after U.S. forces rumbled into the Iraqi capital and Saddam Hussein's rule was declared over, Baghdad still smolders. Barricades remain, and most shops are still shuttered against looters. Residents of the capital say the week was many things. Easy wasn't one of them. Things are much better, said this man. Improving. We need more security, but thanks to Bush, Saddam is gone. Some of the uncounted casualties of U.S. bombs remain hospitalized. Many others were carried home after looters stripped medical facilities. The oil ministry, perhaps the only government building that escaped unscathed. The most serious cultural casualty, the Iraqi Museum, losing a priceless treasure of historic artifacts to mobs of frenzied thieves. For the U.S., a victory that is clear but not complete. The much-feared house-to-house fighting some predicted, along with total destruction of the capital, never materialized. Forced to deal with looters and arsonists, Baghdad police agreed to join forces and bring order out of chaos. But the discovery of 100 manufactured suicide vests raised the specter of terrorism, while pockets of Saddam Hussein's loyalists remain embedded among civilians. Tons of munitions gathered from schools, homes, and mosques were destroyed. Tons more remain. So too remains a deep distrust for U.S. motives. The most common question on Iraqis' lips: how long will the Americans stay? We don't want a government forced upon us, said this Iraqi. If we are really free, we should have the right to tell the U.S. to leave. Amid calls for more humanitarian aid, a reminder they came as soldiers, not heavily armed social workers.
We're doing the best we can. We are the nation's shock troops, the Expeditionary Forces. Our specialty is basically going into hostile countries, killing all the bad guys, and once the fighting's done, we usually like to turn around and go home.
Former exiles exhorted Iraqis to build a new future themselves, and thousands of civil servants agreed to return to work. Equally important, the call for Iraqis of all faiths and politics to unite. The majority Shia Muslims appear unwilling or unable to find that unity. Long at the bottom of Iraqi society, they now witness fierce competition for leadership. The irony is that a divided Shia community may invite others to rule. Politics aside, there was hope all Iraqis would soon have power as electric stations prepared to reconnect the capital. Stores began to reopen, and most assume that whatever had happened this week, the worst was over. Iraqis may not all agree about whether the Americans really brought them freedom, whether Saddam Hussein is really gone for good, or whether their lives are certain to improve. But they all seem to agree that if they get nothing else, the one thing they want is democracy. And that is not a bad start. Jim Clancy, CNN, Baghdad.
For the first time in over 6 months, the United States and North Korea will meet primarily to negotiate on Pyongyang's suspected nuclear weapons program. Last October, the United States claimed that North Korean officials admitted to secretly pursuing a nuclear weapons program. North Korea denied the accusation and restarted several mothballed nuclear facilities. They kicked out UN nuclear inspectors and warned of an impending war on the Korean peninsula unless Washington meets face-to-face. Both sides are hoping that the talks will resolve tension over the issue.
The U.S. is weighing its options now that it has Palestinian terrorist Abu Abbas in custody. He was captured Monday night in Baghdad by U.S. commandos. Italy has asked that Abbas be extradited there. Italy has already tried Abbas in absentia for the 1985 hijacking of the Italian cruise ship Achille Lauro. He was found guilty of murder. CNN's Kelly Wallace has more.
Israeli officials are hailing the arrest of Abu Abbas for the hijacking of the Achille Lauro and also for the killing of Leon Klinghoffer, an American Jew. One official, a spokesman with Prime Minister Sharon's office, saying that Abu Abbas evaded justice for 18 years. This official saying that justice has finally been brought to him, but a different reaction from the Palestinians. Palestinian Cabinet Minister Saeb Erekat said he has been in touch with the American authorities earlier on this day, appealing for the release of Abbas, saying that his arrest violates that 1995 agreement signed between the Israelis and the Palestinians, co-signed by then President Clinton, which then said that any Palestinian could not be arrested for any violent acts committed before the 1993 Oslo Peace Accords. Now, the Palestinians are also saying that Abu Abbas visited the Palestinian territories repeatedly since 1996, including a visit to the Gaza Strip, and that the U.S. and the Israelis did nothing about that. Well, to that, a spokesman for Prime Minister Sharon's office, Renan Gissin, saying that Abu Abbas had many chances to mend his ways, but that he never did, that he did not renounce terrorism, and that he never supported the Mideast peace plan.
About 30 Moody airmen returned home Tuesday night. The men were assigned to the 41st Rescue Squadron and the 347th Air Force Maintenance Squadron. They were deployed to Afghanistan in March of 2002 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. The squadron also had other members returning home last week.
2 bodies have been found in the San Francisco Bay Area. Authorities believe they could be the remains of Lacey Peterson and her son. The bodies washed ashore in Richmond, California, about 80 miles northwest of Modesto. Scott Peterson, her husband, told police he was fishing alone on December 24th, only 2 miles from where the woman's remains were found. He also acknowledges that he was having an affair at the time of his wife's disappearance. DNA tests are being conducted. However, police said it could be several weeks before they receive results. Coming up, the latest on the SARS outbreak.
And PJ Brown has the latest in sports. Stay with us.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
They came searching for treasure. They didn't know the greatest riches were the rainforests themselves. Worth much more than gold, rainforests help protect life on our planet. That's why people are working to save them. You can learn more through the Arbor Day Foundation's Rainforest Rescue Program. You can go to the Arbor Day Foundation website, arborday.org, and check out Rainforest Rescue. It helps protect rainforests more precious than gold.
These kids are in trouble. They're not getting high on drugs or stealing. If they were, you'd do something about it right now. But why is it almost half of all parents who suspect their child has a problem learning wait a year or more before getting help? Why? Kids with learning disabilities are smart. They just learn differently. Call now. The sooner you get help, the better the chance your kid has.
World Health Organization experts will be doing tests over the next few weeks in China to determine whether the SARS virus is here to stay. The doctors were granted access to 2 secret military hospitals where many unreported SARS victims were housed. SARS has killed 7 more people in Asia today, and in Hong Kong, another 36 people contracted the disease, bringing the total number of infections of over 1,200. After months of hiding their SARS outbreak, Chinese media reported a massive effort has been launched throughout China to disinfect buses, taxis, and other public facilities. Today's fatalities have raised the global death toll to at least 162.
SARS is a rapidly growing disease. Although it is now predominantly found in Asia, it is becoming a worldwide health concern. VSU Update's Danita Wilborn explains how Valdosta is prepared to handle the virus.
SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, which is basically a bad flu. It's caused by a coronavirus, which is related to the flu, and it started in Asia, Hong Kong, China, Singapore, etc. It's highly contagious, but interesting, it's not very lethal. In fact, the mortality is only 3.5%.
In this laboratory, airborne diseases such as tuberculosis and SARS are contained and tested. Children are often especially vulnerable to these respiratory infections. Valdosta lab technicians must wear these surgical masks, protective gowns, and goggles because the disease is believed to spread from close contact. This laminar flow hood also serves as a protective device for disease control staff. The air in the hood circulates around so it does not contaminate the entire lab. After an individual is exposed to the disease, they become sick in 2 to 7 days. There is no test yet for SARS. However, the CDC has developed 2 research tests to detect antibodies to the virus.
As you can see, Valdosta is definitely ready for any possible SARS outbreak. For VSU Update, I'm Danita Wilborn.
The Privacy Rule of Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996 went into effect on Monday. The purpose of this act is to restore the public's trust in America's healthcare system. HIPAA's privacy rule provides protection for the patient's personal health information and allows consumers access to their health information by creating a nationwide privacy framework.
Sonia Kowalski Day will take place at VSU tomorrow from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. in Powell Hall. Sonia Kowalski Day is named after the Russian mathematician who was the first woman to receive a doctorate in mathematics. The project encourages girls to pursue the study of math and to prepare them in possible careers in math-related fields. More than 70 students and teachers are scheduled to come from approximately 10 area high schools.
South Georgia Medical Center presented the Valdosta City School System with a check for $44,000 for their school nursing programs. SGMC has the money to contribute because they participate in a program called the Georgia Indigent Care Trust Fund. Georgia Medical is a public nonprofit hospital that takes care of those who cannot afford hospital care. The contribution will be used to fund primary care programs in academic settings to help children maintain good health.
Well, we're coming up with sports. PJ here, Tanya Coffey's doing a great job with the softball team.
Well, that is correct. Miss Coffey hit 3 home runs last night for the Lady Blazers, giving her a VSU record. Blazer baseball had a huge upset victory yesterday. And Mom and Dad, gather the kids around because we're taking a family vacation to ex-con Jose Canseco's house. All that and more coming up in sports, but first, let's look at today's weather.
Valdosta State University.
Valdosta State University really give us a lot of hands-on experience.
Professors are easy to understand and they're
Get me now. She'll take all that money I got saved in my piggy bank.
Don't be upset. You're lucky you've done such a good job of saving that you can pay for it. It's never too early to start saving for some of life's emergencies.
It's never too early to start planning for the future. Watch for your Social Security statement in the mail. Remember, Social Security should only be part, not all, of your retirement income.
You'd never know it on the battlefield. But nearly half of today's military are National Guard and reservists. However, they can't answer our nation's call without their employer's support. If you're an employer, visit esgr.org and find out how to do your part. After all, their response depends on yours.
Hi, I'm PJ Brown, and this is Sports Update. The Lady Blazers softball team continues to impress as they swept Albany State 2-0 yesterday. VSU won in impressive fashion as they dominated the first game 16-0, then came right back and throttled the Rams 12-1 in the nightcap. For one Lady Blazer, it was definitely a night to remember as Miss Junior Tanya Coffey belted out 3 home runs, giving her the all-time VSU single-season home run record with 12. VSU completes their regular season this weekend as they take on conference foe Lincoln Memorial at a softball complex. VSU's record now stands at 41-17 as they currently stand in second place in the conference, just 1 game behind West Florida. Well, last night at Billy Grant Field, Brian Bennett threw a complete game 9-hitter in VSU's upset victory over number 6 ranked Armstrong Atlantic 4-0. Runs did not come easily last night as both teams were deadlocked at 0 going into the 6th inning. But in the 6th, Blazer bats came alive as senior Scott Simpson led off the inning with a solo home run. Then with 2 outs, shortstop Josh Ferris stole home to give the Blazers a 3-run advantage. The inning was topped off by second baseman Josh Grube laying down a perfect squeeze bunt to score David Lewis from third. The victory moves coach Tommy Thomas just 3 wins away from becoming Division II's all-time winningest coach. Blazers' schedule does not get any easier tonight as 4th-ranked North Florida comes to town. That game gets underway at 6. Sports Update would like to congratulate Blazer baseball Sammy Watson for being named Male Athlete of the Year, an award given for outstanding achievement on and off the field. Blazer golf wrapped their season up yesterday as they tied for 7th place with Henderson State in the GSC tournament. VSU was 31 strokes off West Florida's winning pace in the 54-hole event that took place in Hot Springs, Arkansas. The Blazers were led by Chris Irwin, who is named second-team all-conference for his 12th place finish. Looking to the major leagues now, the old saying goes, lightning doesn't strike in the same place twice. Well, that's true unless you are an opposing coach or an umpire at Comiskey Park in Chicago. Last year, the Kansas City Royals first base coach Tom Gamboa was attacked by a father and a son. Well, with the Royals in town last night, it happened again. In the 8th inning, a fan jumped out of the stands and attacked umpire Laddie following the ball.
Well, I didn't know what was happening. I thought it was Sweeney bumping into me going after the fly ball, and when I looked up, I didn't see a Kansas City uniform, so I just turned around and jumped on him as quick as possible, and by the time I knew, the security were there and the rest of the Kansas City Royals were there, so it was good.
Did he swing at you, hit you anything?
No, he just grabbed me by my waist, and that's when I turned him around, and he landed on the ground, and I jumped on him, and everybody else jumped on him.
Were you a little scared out there?
I didn't have time to be scared because I didn't know what was happening, so once I got on top of him, and everybody else got on top of him, there was no time to be scared.
In his first game since last June, the Braves' Shane Reynolds pitched 5 shutout innings as Atlanta nipped the Montreal Expos 2-1 in 10 innings yesterday in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The Braves trailed 1-0 going into the 9th when Gary Sheffield led off the inning with a solo shot to tie the game. With the game all square at 1 apiece in the 10th, the little engine that could, Marcus Giles, hit a solo yaya of his own to give the Braves the victory. The first round of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are well underway as we look to the Western Conference for the best series thus far. The Dallas Stars came into Tuesday down 2-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. Well, in Game 4, the Stars came out firing as Sergei Zubov scored on a wicked hard slap shot with just a minute and a half gone in the first period. In the third, with the Stars on a one-man advantage, Stu Barnes scored a power play goal to seal the deal in Dallas' 3-1 victory. The series now heads back to Dallas for Game 5 on Thursday. In other news around the world of sports, if you're looking for a way to spend your tax refund or if you're just looking to burn a vacation day, Jose Canseco would like to hear from you. The Canseco, the 38-year-old former Bash brother, was released from prison last month, and he wants to give us, the little people, the opportunity to spend a day with him. JoseCanseco.com is auctioning the chance to spend the afternoon with Canseco at his home in South Florida. The extremely generous Canseco says the winner can bring one guest, 17 or younger, at no extra cost. Among the activities listed on the website that the winner will get the chance to partake in, power hitting lessons, private martial arts instructions, a cookout by the pool with Canseco, and a free lesson on prison shower etiquette. That's all for sports. I'm PJ Brown. Stay tuned for more VSU Update after this.
I am the soldier, I am skilled and smart, I've got the training, and I've got the heart, I'm the defender of our liberty, I am the soldier, count on me, rise into the challenge, whatever it may be, I am the soldier, count on me.
I was in an accident and had to go in an ambulance. It hurt a lot and I was real scared. Daddy looked scared too.
Where are they taking it?
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Accident victims, cancer patients, children. Please call the American Red Cross at 1-800-GIVE-LIFE because someone needs you right now.
The girl. Was it you who saved my life?
The danger dog will bite your ankle. The danger dog will bite your ear. The danger dog will bite your bottom if you come near. That's the danger dog. Dog.
Want to feel appreciated? When you spend time with kids, anytime, it helps prevent crime.
On Saturday, the second annual South Georgia Women's Show was held at the Valdosta Lowndes County Conference Center. VSU Update's Kylie Mitchell has the story.
The 2003 Women's Show gave women the opportunity to come together and learn about local businesses. They took advantage of free samples and enjoyed things like free massages, eye exams, and facials. Tracy Stolniker and Pam Wood tell us more about what Mary Kay had to offer the Women's Show.
We're here today at the Women's Show, and we're proud to show our wonderful Mary Kay products, and we're doing a drawing for baskets. We were here last year and had a wonderful time, had a great turnout, and we're really hoping this year will be the same.
The Bay Tree Cottage and Gallery 124 teamed up to show off their furnishings, fine rugs, and art, while demonstrations such as decorating, cooking, and martial arts were held. Todd Tillman, the board president for the Valdosta Board of Realtors, tells us about the purpose of the Women's Show.
The purpose of the South Georgia Women's Show ultimately is to raise funds for several very worthwhile charities, including the Georgia Sheriff's Boys Ranch, Habitat for Humanity, Meals on Wheels, the Annette Howell Turner Arts Center, and Hospice of South Georgia. It's a lot of fun. We've got 53 exhibitors that have set up booths for everything pertaining to women. You've got home furnishings, you've got makeup, you've got cosmetic dental care, real estate interest, financial planning interest, anything that would be of interest to women.
From the second annual South Georgia Women's Show, for VSU Update, I'm Kylie Mitchell.
The VSU College of Nursing will host Scholarship Day on Friday, April 18th from May 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the University Center. This year's theme is Nursing, Love in its Pursuit, Love in its purest form, and will feature junior and senior nursing students demonstrating their academic progress and knowledge in the field of nursing. Recruiters from surrounding areas will attend to provide nursing students with information about their facilities and job prospects available for nurses entering the workforce.
VSU will host its Education Career Day on Tuesday, April 22nd from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. This event will be held on the mezzanine level of the PE complex. Students will have the opportunity to participate in a walkthrough session where there may be scheduled interviews with representatives from school systems. Career Day is open to all VSU alumni and current students. Resumes will be accepted and employment applications will be available. For more information, contact Career Services.
The American Cancer Society is hosting the Relay for Life 2003 Walkathon. The overnight event will raise funds for cancer research and cancer prevention. It also honors those who have lost and won the battle against cancer. The event starts on Friday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. and will end on Saturday morning at the Lowndes High School track. For more information, please contact the American Cancer Society.
Spike is no longer just the name of a famous film director or a volleyball move. The national network has announced that it will call itself Spike TV and become the first network aimed at specifically men. Since it already airs World Wrestling Entertainment, Star Trek The Next Generation, and Slam Ball, nearly 2/3 of TNN's audience is male. Although outlets like ESPN have mostly male audiences, Spike TV is the first to explicitly identify this as a goal. The name change will take effect June 16th.
That's it for this week's edition of VSU Update.
I'm Anthony Goldwire. Good night.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of VSU Update. I'm Danita Wilborn.
And I'm Anthony Goldwire. Coming up, we'll tell you about the bombing in Tel Aviv.
And the new art center opens in Valdosta. Stay with us. VSU Update starts now. Our first story this evening comes from Tel Aviv. A blast rocked the Tel Aviv beachfront cafe early Wednesday morning. Israeli police say the explosion killed several people and injured more than 30 others. They think a suicide bomber is responsible for the attack. The blast occurred. The explosion came just hours after the confirmation of Abu Mazen as the first Palestinian prime minister.
A London Arabic newspaper has published what it says is a letter from deposed Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein. The handwritten letter urged Iraqis to resist coalition forces and was dated from April 28th, which marks Saddam's 66th birthday. If the letter is authentic, it would be the first indication that Saddam survived the coalition bombing of Baghdad.
NATO is in an uproar. 4 European Union countries that oppose the fight in Iraq are now striking out on their own, calling for a separate defense pact outside of the organization. Kitty Pilgrim joins us with more.
France, Germany, Belgium, and Luxembourg want a mini-me version of a defense alliance, their own defense pact that would exist outside of NATO, drawing howls of protest from NATO member countries.
We won't accept, and neither will the rest of Europe, accept anything that either undermines NATO or conflicts with the basic principles of European defense that we've set out.
The grand old NATO alliance includes 19 countries, with 7 more to join next year. The proposed breakaway defense pact would include only France, Germany, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Cracks in NATO have already shown up recently. Member countries could not agree to defend Turkey during the war in Iraq. Today, Secretary of State Colin Powell put the blame squarely on France.
But they did not follow through on their obligation in order to press their own agendas on Iraq. Make no mistake, and I make no mistake about it, the disagreement was serious, and our delay in responding to Turkey's request damaged the credibility of our alliance.
The dream of a separate force from NATO is implausible and expensive, according to some military analysts. The average age of a Belgian soldier is 40 compared to 28 in the U.S. and 29 in the U.K. In Europe, equipment is especially poor and low-tech, and military funding is declining all through Europe. The United States, the behemoth of NATO, is beginning to become more calculating in terms of its support of certain countries. With 117,000 troops in Europe, 80,000 in Germany, one option being considered is shifting bases from Germany, which did not support the U.S. position on Iraq, to other countries for their support. Kitty Pilgrim, CNN, New York.
A local elementary school shows their support for the soldiers in Iraq. Angelina Washington reports.
Soldier Corey Melton is not just any soldier, according to Miss Melton's second grade class at South Mahone Elementary School. Corey is a 22-year-old member of the 208th Signal Battalion stationed in Iraq. A proud parent and teacher, Gina Melton, and her class felt it would be a great idea to write and draw pictures for Corey to show them that they care. The students expressed their concerns about the windstorms and his overall well-being in their second letter to Corey during the war. The class has never met Corey, but feel very close to him and enjoy hearing stories his mother shares with them. Corey has written back to them and is in good spirits and tries to keep in touch. Miss Milton's class was not the only class who wanted to do their part in supporting the troops. Other second grade classes collected items and snacks to send to Corey and other soldiers in Iraq. Corey is a former VSU student and has been enlisted for over a year and a half. Corey is expected to return to Fort Lift, Texas to wife Brooke with many cool pictures and some awesome stories within the next 6 weeks. Miss Milton explained that this experience has been a good one and is anxiously awaiting his arrival. Reporting from Miss Milton's second grade class for VSU Update, I'm Angelina Washington.
Local schools aren't the only ones showing their support. A Lejeune is a military camp for kids who are learning to defend their country. CNN's Aaron Sakin has more.
Up, 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 up. Up, on your toes, toes, toes.
They're tough like Marines, only much smaller.
5 more, 5 more. Pull, 2, pull.
More than half of the 75 children in this Camp Lejeune Young Marines program are from military families.
One more, Rabideau, one more. One more, Rabideau, one more. Good job.
Some, like Gunnery Sergeant Evan Rabideau and his brother Jake, have fathers off at war.
We hope that he's glad that we're doing it, and I'm pretty sure that he is.
Excuse me, are you having a bad day?
I'm trying to...
No, what you're doing is losing your bearing. That's what you're doing. You don't push nobody around. I push people around.
The instructors, all volunteers, can be tough, though they do more than just bark orders.
You can see the changes in the kids as they stay in the program. We've made a big difference here in the county, or I'd like to think we have.
1, 2, 3. Hey! 1, 2, 3. Hey!
One night a week, they mold these bright-eyed youngsters not into Marines, but responsible young adults.
We were at the store the other day, and a lady was walking all the way across the parking lot to return her cart, and he ran over and said, "Ma'am, let me return that for you." And I thought the lady was going to, fall down. She said, "I didn't realize that there were kids like that anymore."
Some of the smaller ones, as young as 8, have other ideas. Why do you want to be a Marine?
Well, I just want to see some action. All that fighting and everything, getting to handle guns. It looks like fun.
The Corps doesn't just hand these young Marines their uniforms. In fact, they've got to go through their own version of mini boot camp before they earn their stripes. The cadets in the plainclothes company are brand new, and it shows. One of them grew up to be the National Young Marine of the Year in 2002, though he won't be rushing into the real Corps.
Hopefully I'll go to college and I might enlist or I'll be an officer after that.
Good job, good job.
For some kids, 5 pull-ups and a week without trouble in school means mission accomplished.
You see those kids smile, I mean, it's all worth it. It really is.
Training children to answer the call of duty, whatever it may be.
Police and the FBI are investigating the possible finding of a young boy that vanished from his North Carolina home 2 years ago. An age progression photo of missing Tristan Myers bears a strong resemblance to an Illinois boy. On February 3rd, a man later identified as Ricky Quick brought the Illinois boy to an Evanston hospital. He claimed the boy was his son and that he wanted the boy evaluated for aggressive behavior. When questioned, the boy could not name his family members or give his birthday. DNA tests were conducted on Monday, raising hopes of the missing boy's family. The results will take 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, World Health officials have lifted the ban on travel to Toronto. The World Health Organization cited the lack of any new cases of SARS in Toronto since the April 9th. In the U.S., the Center for Disease Control warned a Senate panel that danger from SARS still exists. Bill Tucker has the latest.
The message from the Centers for Disease Control is simple and direct.
We cannot say that we've dodged this. We most definitely are not out of the woods. We must maintain vigilance.
A fact that doesn't seem to have escaped Americans. Nearly half of us, 43%, are worried that they or a family member will become a victim of SARS, according to a recent CNN USA Today poll. The CDC calls that an overreaction, but people are frightened. And the head of the CDC assured a Senate hearing that the center is vigilant.
This is the best we can do right now, and we will make every use of these tools. And if the problem evolves in this country, we're prepared to take additional steps to focus on containment.
A new survey by the Harvard School for Public Health shows many Americans are comfortable with the idea of quarantine, believing it's necessary to contain the disease. And 94% of those surveyed would agree to be isolated for 2 to 3 weeks in a healthcare facility if they had SARS. Some of that willingness perhaps fueled by an important misconception.
In our survey, 40% of Americans thought that more than a quarter of people who would get SARS would die. And that really is not accurate. It just shows that when they see reports from China, they just are alarmed by the size of it.
The progress of SARS seems to have slowed, the World Health Organization declaring the virus contained in Vietnam. But South Korea and New Zealand reported their first cases on Tuesday, and the travel advisories to Hong Kong and China remain in effect. Globally, there are now more than 5,400 probable cases of SARS, 353 reported deaths, with a mortality rate of almost 6.5%. Bill Tucker, CNN, New York.
When we return, we'll tell you what VSU does to protect its students.
And PJ Brown will join us later with sports. Stay with us.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
Space station astronauts will be returning to Earth in a Russian spacecraft because of the shuttle Columbia disaster in February. But NASA officials say they are committed to putting us U.S. shuttles back in action soon. CNN's John Zarilla has the report from Cape Canaveral.
NASA Administrator Shawn O'Keefe says he believes space shuttles could be flying again sooner than most people expected.
There shouldn't be anything that would be an out-and-out showstopper. So we're hopeful and continuing planning for the prospect that we could be returned to flight by as early as the end of this year.
O'Keefe, the keynote speaker at the annual Space Congress conference in Cape Canaveral, said he wants to be ready to implement the recommendations of the Columbia Accident Investigation Board as soon as their final report is out this summer. Once shuttles are flying, completion of the International Space Station will be the priority. That will take another 6 shuttle flights. For now, the Russians will be doing the heavy lifting. A Russian Soyuz spacecraft is handling the current and likely the next station crew changeout. Additional unmanned resupply missions may be added, O'Keefe says, to bring up more food and water for the 2-man crew.
The best we can do with even that accelerated pace is maintain a crew of 2, which essentially keeps the lights on and the fluids moving and the power generation going, and a little bit of the science activity that was the purpose why we built it.
Despite the Columbia accident, NASA remains committed to human and robotic missions. A flight to the moons of Jupiter is planned for 2011. For the first time, nuclear technology will be used for spacecraft propulsion to get to the planet more quickly and visit rather than just driving by.
With this, we can go to Jupiter, for instance, and we can visit one moon, do all the science we need to do there, then go to another moon.
But the next planetary visit will be a lot nearer to Earth. Twin Mars rovers will head to the Red Planet this summer. With the shuttle grounded and the last Mars mission a failure, success this time around would go a long way toward restoring confidence in the space program. John Zarella, CNN, Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Mosquitoes may be getting stung themselves by an illness that only affects these parasites called baculovirus. Scientists believe that this disease could kill mosquitoes potentially carrying the West Nile virus, an illness that killed almost 300 people and made more than 4,000 others sick in the U.S. last year. A patent for baculovirus is being manufactured in a commercial spray for consumers' use and was approved in February.
An ad campaign designed to build civic pride in Massachusetts backfired, but one of the ads featured a convicted sex offender. Our correspondent has more.
Larry Hayes has been feeling down in the dumps lately.
I walked last night to the Faven Bridge. My mind was just floating, I guess you would say. And I had no thoughts of going, jumping, or anything like that. It's like walking into a stone wall.
Hayes posed for a new print campaign called The Reason. In it, he says pride is the reason he's lived in New Bedford 47 years. But his pride soon turned to shame when news of his 1994 child rape conviction surfaced.
I'm not an animal. I made a mistake. I'm just asking for forgiveness.
But some people are not that forgiving.
I don't think she'd be in any poster child for anything to advertise the city of New Bedford.
Gives that rapist to get away with anything. If they can go on a newspaper, then they can get out of jail.
Everyone is human. Convictions are something you're not proud of. He was in the campaign because of his heart.
Grandison Tabor is one of the brains behind the ad. Tabor says he was shocked and saddened by the news, but considers it a small stumbling block. He says the campaign will continue, but the way they choose their models may change.
Sexual assaults are currently on the rise on college campuses. VSU's Update, Stacey White takes a look.
A recent study showed that more than 2 million women have reported sexual assaults. Of that 2 million, 1 in 4 college women are also victims of attempted rape. With these alarming statistics, we decided to find out if students at VSU feel safe.
I pretty much feel safe on campus. The only thing that could have improvement is the police could, if they see students walking from the parking lot late at night, they should offer to give a ride to the students, because it's not safe for us to walk back late that night, on our own.
In order to make students feel safer on campus, the University Police Department offer RAD, the Rape Aggression Defense Course.
Basically, we started the RAD class because it teaches women the art of self-defense. And self-defense isn't necessarily just fists, elbows, and feet. Self-defense is awareness, risk reduction, and avoidance.
The university has also placed emergency call boxes conspicuously throughout campus. Each dormitory is also equipped with a call box in case you find yourself in a bad situation. Remember, being aware of your surroundings is very important. It is a key aspect when it comes to self-defense.
I feel it's very important for anyone in general to know a little bit about self-defense, just in case you're by yourself one night and you're like, okay, I'll just walk back, and someone comes out and grabs you. You need to know a little something just to get away.
Reporting for VSU Update, I'm Stacey White.
The National Commission on Writing in American Schools and Colleges released a study stating many students are graduating from high school and are unable to write in a sophisticated, precise, or engaging fashion. American schools need a revolution in writing, and the commission wants a national agenda to improve writing among students. A change to state education standards will include a comprehensive writing policy and is being proposed.
So PJ, what's going on in sports?
Well, both VSU's men and women's softball and baseball teams are headed to the GSC tournament. I'll recap all the action from last night in the NBA and NHL. And students with excessive parking tickets, stay tuned because relief may be in sight. That and more coming up in sports, but first, let's look at today's weather.
The Pentagon and World Trade Center have been hit. People across the country are mourning the loss of thousands.
For the Afghan people caught in the middle of an international crisis.
The people here are in such bad shape.
The onset of winter threatens catastrophe for people already.
Women and children are the most vulnerable to hunger and disease.
Their misery intensified by empty stomachs, sickness, and nowhere to go but here.
CARE is distributing food, water, shelter supplies.
Without this immediate help, things look grim.
Relief agencies like CARE are reaching those in need.
Hi, I'm PJ Brown. This is Sports Update. After taking 2 of 3 from rival North Alabama this past weekend, the Blazer baseball team guaranteed themselves a berth in this week's GSC Conference Tournament. After finding out their first-round opponent, VSU is experiencing a little deja vu. For the second straight year, VSU will face the #1 team in the nation, Delta State, in the first round. VSU pounded the Statesmen 8-2 last year, and Coach Tommy Thomas said he is hopefully optimistic about the chances for another upset this year. Junior pitcher Adam Lingenfelter will be at the helm for VSU as game time is set for 2 p.m. on Saturday. The Lady Blazers softball team will begin defense of its GSC Conference Championship against Delta State as well. The Ponytailed Ones are on the road again this weekend as they travel to Meridian, Mississippi. With a 44-17 regular season record, VSU is the #2 seed in the GSC East. VSU and Delta State met earlier in the season with the Lady Statesmen handing VSU a 2-1 extra inning loss. Now looking to the hardwood, the NBA's first-round playoff matchups are becoming more and more intriguing with each passing hour. The Boston Celtics had a chance to shut the door on the Indiana Pacers as they held a 3-1 series lead going into last night. Well, their Celtics star Paul Pierce, and his nickname is The Truth. Well, last night he was telling the Pacers, "You want the truth? You can't handle the truth." But Indiana would hold Pierce to only 16 points. Then the NBA's newest bad boy, Ron Artest, going to take it in the lane with the little bunny jumper. Artest behaved quite well last night as he had 26 points and 10 boards to lead Indiana. But then with 4 minutes left, Celtics up 3. Pierce going to get the ball, little spin move, taking it to the rack. But then he gets swatted, but Johnny on the spot, Antoine Walker tips it back in. He had 21. He says, "Indiana, why don't you go pocket kind of yada something." But then Indiana down 3, 3.5 to go. The old man, Timmy Hardaway from way downtown to tie it up. With 5 seconds left, Celtics have a chance to win. The Truth with the ball. He says, "You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall." Well, maybe not, as he gets swatted by Ron Artest to send it into overtime. In the overtime session, Indiana would hold Boston scoreless, as Jermaine O'Neal is going to take it to the rack and hit the little jumper to lead Indiana to victory. Another Eastern Conference showdown, the Milwaukee Bucks did not have an answer for the New Jersey tandem of Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson. The duo combined for 45 points, leading the Nets to a 7-point victory. New Jersey now has a 3-2 series lead. In the West, Kobe Bryant's 32 points were too much for Kevin Garnett and the Timberwolves to handle, as the Lakers blew out Minnesota by 30 to take a 3-2 series advantage. The T-Wolves are now 1 loss away from a 7th straight first-round exit. The San Antonio Spurs took a 3-2 lead as well as they defeated the Phoenix Suns 94-82 last night. The Spurs were led offensively by Malik Rose, who came off the bench and scorched the Suns for 27 points. Let's now take a look at action from the Ice Capades last night in the Vancouver, Minnesota series. Dan, welcome back, Mr. Kata, had 16 saves for the Canucks as Horshack, Washington, and Vinny Barbarino each scored power play goals to lead Vancouver to a 3-2 victory. The Canucks now hold a 2-1 series lead over the Wild in the Western Conference Playoff Series. Moving to the Eastern Conference, the Ottawa Senators and Philadelphia Flyers were knotted at 1 game apiece as they hit the ice last night. We're looking at action from the third period, and previously the Flyers were 35-0 and leading after 2 periods. But here you're going to see Mario Husa wrap around goal to tie it up 2-2 for the Senators. We're now looking in at overtime as John Stevenson going to get the steal for the Senators, and he's got a chance to win. Shot on goal, glove save, Roman Chekmanikov. He was brilliant for the Flyers as he had 33 saves. And then in the extra session again, the Flyers pushing ahead to John LeClaire with a chance to win it. Shot, kick, save. Patrick Lalime, he had 20 saves for the Senators. But then finally, Senators pushing ahead, attacking on the Flyers with 13 minutes left. Adam Redden going to get the ball, looking to center, through the 5-hole, through the wickets, through the legs, whatever you want to call it, whatever way you want to look at it. That's a victory for the Ottawa Senators. Well, the Kentucky Derby is right around the corner, and it looks as if the Derby jinx might have struck early this year. Because on Tuesday morning, the Derby favorite, Empire Maker, bruised his foot during a practice run. The injury is minor, but it definitely changes the outlook for Saturday's race. Empire Maker's trainer, Bobby Frankel, said his star colt will still run, but the odds could change dramatically when entries are taken today. Think of all the things you can buy with $1. You can make a collect phone call, you can buy a pack of gum, or you can, well, that's pretty much it. Unless you were lucky enough to be in Toronto last night, because tickets to watch the Blue Jays take on the Texas Rangers were on sale for $1. The $1 gesture was an effort to bring fans back to the ballpark to prove that Toronto is a safe city, despite the recent SARS scare. It is estimated that SARS has already cost the Blue Jays a sale of over 10,000 tickets. In other news around the world of sports, Valdosta State alum Bronny Baird finished 17th in last weekend's PGA Shell Houston Open and collected over $65,000. Bronny has now won over $630,000 on the year and has 5 top 25 finishes. Mr. Baird is a very, very generous VSU alum, so he says for any student with excessive parking tickets to give him a call. That's all for sports. I'm PJ Brown. Stay tuned for more VSU update after this.
Get a job.
Look, it's a giraffe.
I don't see it.
The less art kids get, the more it shows. Are yours getting enough? Art. Ask for more. AmericansForTheArts.org.
VSU is holding its spring commencement ceremonies on May 10th at the PE Complex on Baytree Road. There are 2 ceremonies. The first one will include undergraduate and graduate students from the College of Education, the Harley-Langdale College of Business Administration, and the Air Force ROTC. The afternoon session will be held at 2 p.m. This session will hold graduates from the College of the Arts, the College of Nursing, and the Division of Social Work. The public is invited to attend.
The Valdosta State University Student Government Association will host an end-of-the-year luau tomorrow. The SGA felt this would be a great way to end the year. There will be free food, music, fun, and prizes. The luau will start at 7 o'clock p.m. on the VSU front lawn.
Animal rights activists are further apart than ever after scientists proved that for the first time, fish feel pain. The study on the rainbow trout in Scotland found evidence that fish have feelings, including stress and pain. The Rosalind Institute in the Scottish capital includes that fish's nervous system receptors are found also in birds, mammals, and humans. The animal rights organization welcomes the study but says fish should not suffer to prove something obvious.
A long-awaited and very special night to remember for South Georgia and North Florida. The grand opening of the Annette Turner Center for the Arts. Bridget Tooley has more.
The Annette Howell Turner Center for the Arts, a 17,000 square foot facility, offers 5 times the gallery space of their old facility and provides an outstanding presence and image to this community. The new facility houses the Arts Commission, whose purpose is to study and present the visual, performing, and literary arts in the city of Valdosta and Lowndes County. This new Center for the Arts honors a great lady who was truly a friend to the arts and this entire community, Annette Howell Turner. Reporting for VSU Update, I'm Bridget Tooley.
Have you been wondering when Valdosta was going to get a stadium theater? Well, wonder no more, because your dreams have come true. The Valdosta Stadium 16 Theater has been under construction for the past 4 months. The theater offers more movies, stadium seating, and high-quality film projectors. It will also have 16 theaters, all with stadium seating. With the addition of a new stadium complex, the Ashley Cinemas will be converted into a dollar theater, while the movies at the Colonial Mall of Valdosta will probably be shut down. The projected date for the opening is set for late May.
Mount Sterling, Iowa is now on the map. The small town is quickly gaining attention since the mayor wants it to be the first liar-free town in the world. The proposed ordinance on banning lying is actually gaining some support. CNN's Anderson Cooper has more.
Welcome to Mount Sterling, Iowa, a hunting town of 40. Not exactly world famous, but it's getting there.
There's a lady from the BBC radio network in Europe would like to talk to you.
Why all the interest? Mayor Hamlett wants Mount Sterling to become the first liar-free town in the world. He's fed up with people telling tales, you know, about how many mushrooms they picked or how big the deer was they shot. So he recently proposed an ordinance to ban lying in Mount Sterling. No big blatant lies, no little white ones either. Imagine that, no lies. What would life in America be like without them? First of all, what would politicians do?
I'm not a crook.
After all, splitting hairs wouldn't be allowed.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
And broken promises? Forget about it.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
It's not just politicians. CEOs might find complete disclosure difficult as well.
I've been instructed by my counsel
Not to testify.
Based upon my Fifth Amendment right
afforded me under the Constitution of the United States.
Come to think of it, if lying were outlawed, what would be on TV?
Will you marry me?
Real reality just can't compete.
There's something really intriguing about her, and I really want to keep her around.
Without lies, there'd be no scandals, no dramatic trials to watch.
You say on your oath that you have not addressed any black person as a net.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
No actor shenanigans.
For once, I'd kind of done all the work, and I could honestly say that it was time to move on.
And what would psychics do?
You give a lot of money to this man. A lot of money. You laugh, but you know I'm telling you the truth, don't you?
Would there be no paranormal, just plain old normal? Frankly, who wants that? So perhaps it's not surprising that back in Mount Sterling, the townspeople and the city council are hesitant to embrace the new no lying campaign.
How are you going to enforce it? And who's to say what's a lie and what's a story?
You need to go to Washington, D.C. They tell a lot bigger lies there.
On this subject, at least, the residents of Mount Sterling seem to have no problem telling the truth.
Take the liars out of Mount Sterling, you're not going to have too many people left.
Anderson Cooper, CNN, New York.
Tuning in. Good night.